Hello and welcome to the eDiscovery Red Zone. This is Tom O'Connor of GGO, along with Marean of DLA Piper. Good morning, Browning.
Hi, good morning to you, Tom.
And we are still recovering from our actual meeting face-to-face. In today's digital world, that's just so unusual. It was somewhat shocking to be in the same room with you. And we did a quick audio recording last week, but I guess I should say quickly again that we were all shocked at the passing of Ross Codner last week, very unexpectedly, only 52 years old and suffered a heart attack. And, there are a number of testimonials to him. Bob Ambrosi did a very nice one. Monica Bay did a very nice one. And Craig Ball did just a very, very moving piece that's on his Ball in Your Court site. So
yes,
I'd encourage people to go there. Listen to what his friends and contemporaries had to say about it. But our subject today, returning, as always it seems these days in technology, is predictive coding. We mentioned several weeks ago how some of the, what we had hoped would be early indicators that some agreed protocols involving predictive coding were starting to crumble, the Actos case down here in the Middle District of Louisiana being most prominent. There was actually, and I didn't write down the site, there's actually a decision, I think, out your way in one of the California courts where a judge basically told the, I was about to say combatants, the party, to stop being combatants, and basically said, I've ruled. You guys apparently will argue ad infinitum about the intricacies of algorithms and technical errata that the court is really not interested in. Here's my ruling. If you're not happy with it, well, I think you know what your next step could be. But it seems like the blush is off the rose on predictive coding.
yes. Well, I think the problem with it is that we are, in anthropological terms, in the hunter-gatherer period of predictive coding. It's too new. There are too many mysteries associated with it, and lawyers are conservative. And so I think one of the difficulties is getting a conservative group to adopt sort of the new bright, shiny object. You and I, given our propensity for liking bright, shiny objects, we're willing to give it a try. But I think the big challenge is convincing the people who head up the trial teams that don't necessarily have the joy in bright shiny objects that it's worth doing. So I think it's going to take some time and it's going to take some simplification when I listen to some of the luminaries talk about it, I get a hot flash of incompetence. Because I hear about F scores and
precision and recall and clustering
and so we've got a jargon-rich, statistic-rich field, and small wonder that people are unable to have a good understanding of it. I read, for example, the In-Ray Actos protocol when it came out. I think it ran to some 30-odd pages.
Right.
And as I read it, I wept for my education because I said, what are they talking about here? And so that's why if I was going to do it on a case, I would surely have to have an expert guide me through everything and be able to convert it into horsey-ducky, so I might be able to explain it to a judge. And judges have the same problem that I think I have, which is the need to understand and be comfortable with.
Well, and I think a secondary problem that comes directly from what you just said is that because they don't really understand what they're agreeing to. They don't understand the intricacies, and certainly in the Actos case, it would appear that they followed the lead of a vendor, of an expert. And I think, in Judge Peck's case, the Silva Moore, I think the same thing. Clearly, the fingerprints of an expert were on that protocol. But then, and this is just my opinion, none of the parties in either of those cases expressed this, but it seems to me that then when the results come out, it's not what they expected, or it's not what one party expected. And so that they agreed on a protocol, which is sort of like saying, well, we agreed on the sausage maker, but that's not really the sausage I wanted to see. I was thinking more of a fine Viennese sausage, not a Cajun alligator sausage. And unfortunately, that is then 6 months down the road on a protocol that, from the judge's perspective, has been agreed to. And so the courts, I think, feel sort of, well, you know, you agreed to this, you bargained for this, you looked at it, you read it over. You should have had, if you had any misgivings, they should have been at the front end. And I just think that there's a little bit of that going on. And now the judges are starting to say, look, we're not going to take arguments on this until the end of time. Let's put an end to this.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a...
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but there's sort of a corollary issue around predictive coding that I think infects all of electronic discovery, and that's the pricing issue.
Well, that's just what I was about to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the pricing issue is to me looming in greater importance now than issues surrounding predictive coding. Predictive coding pricing is a symptom of a broader problem, which is getting a good understanding of what it's going to cost in a way that allows party, before the dollar gets spent, almost to do a risk analysis and say, or go to the court and say, you know, Judge, this is $1 million case, wringing wet, but you know, what they're proposing is going to take $500,000 to accomplish. And so before you spend that money, having a good understanding of what it's going to cost. And I think pricing has become sort of the third rail of eDiscovery.
Right.
Because if you get sticker shock when you see what it's going to cost you, or it's like having a menu of options that you don't fully understand and you don't get the whole picture of what it's going to cost at the front end. I think it's changing, but I don't think it can change fast enough.
Well, I agree. We both will be in Las Vegas, well, 2 weeks from today at the ILTA conference.
Oh, yes.
And I'm already seeing press releases from some vendors. We've talked in the past that the per gigabyte pricing model has been under attack. There have been several folks who have gone to some sort of flat fee project-based pricing. But last week, Kroll announced that they were going to show or discuss some sort of flat fee or contract pricing. This morning, I received an email from Alexis representative talking about their attempt to do the same. New releases from Summation and from iPro are promising predictive coding built in for no extra charge. So I think you're right. We're going to see much more of a clarity in pricing, if you will, so that folks can talk about it. Part of the problem is, though, we have these big promises that predictive coding will save you all this money. Well, the caveat is not up front.
Right.
It will save it over the life of the case because of cutting down on review costs downstream. But when you turn around and, as you said, introduce a fairly high number for the predictive coding at the front end of the process, that gives attorneys pause as well. So I think whether it's flat pricing, contract pricing, project pricing, something that will give us a little bit more specific handle on what the cost is going to be the clients want it, the attorneys want it, certainly the courts want it to cut down on disputes. So I think ILTA is going to be very interesting in that regards.
Well, indeed, and you know, as you and I've talked about in the past, you know, from the standpoint of outside counsel, the costs associated with eDiscovery, independent of review, are a pass-through to the client.
Yes.
And so the last thing in the world that, as outside counsel, we want to go to the client and say we think it's going to come in at Y, only to have it come in at 4 times Y when it's all done. And you get that sinking feeling that somewhere in that proposal is a hook that you don't understand, nor do you price it out in a way that that is understandable.
Right.
So
I actually used one of your catchphrases this morning in talking to a client where we actually had given them a proposal, and the client said, "Well, that's a little more than what we had talked about 5 months ago." And I said, "Well, yes, but 5 months ago we didn't have the data. We were talking hypotheticals. If we had this much data and we wanted to do this, now we've got the data in hand. In fact, it's a mess. The production was a mess with some of the pieces had metadata, some did not. There were file types that were in bad shape, et cetera, et cetera. All the things you'd expect in load files and in a large document production." And I said, you know, as my good friend Marean likes to say, you can say it for me, you know where I'm going with this.
I do. No budget survives first contact with the data.
Exactly. That was my exact quote to them. And they thankfully took it with as good a grace as we would hope and said, well, you're right. We were all talking in the ether 4 months ago, and we hadn't actually had the production. So that's fair.
But your point is the first time that you throw out a number, the anchoring problem that you have, no matter how you couch it, you know, this is hypothetical. The first time that you throw out a number, that's like putting a stake in the ground.
That's right.
So throwing out a number, you
like
operate at your
peril. That number is seared. Anytime you mention their case, he said 50,000. He said 50,000. Doesn't matter. Yeah, you're exactly right. Once you start talking numbers, you got to be pretty sure what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So in any event, I think, again, this is hypothetical on my part, but I expect that this is going to be a key topic at ILTA. I think predictive coding is clearly the topic of the moment. Pricing structures, pricing models, new releases, and it's actually one other consultant said to me this morning, you know, we all grew up cutting our teeth on things like summation and concordance and some of the programs after that, like case logistics or digital war room. And he said, you know, we're seeing the death of the desktop tool for handling documents. Everything is going into the SaaS, the web, the cloud, whatever you want to call it. He said, but that also will help us get, I think, more defined pricing. So
interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested to see ILTA this year for that very reason. And this is the first time I've been really feeling a trade show is going to be focused on one subject. And I suspect we're going to hear a lot about that. ILTA, of course, is a large show, and many other subjects there besides eDiscovery and lit support, but I think this is going to be a big buzz for the folks in our space. So.
Yep, absolutely agree. Well, I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks, Tom, again.
We are bringing we are loading up our technological mules with all of our devices, and we will be broadcasting from the show in some way, shape, or form. I don't think even you and I know it, or I know what it is yet.
Yeah, but we'll make something up as we get there.
But we'll be reporting from ILTA 2 weeks from today. I anticipate we'll do at least one more broadcast before then, but we certainly encourage everybody who's listening or looking in to find us at ILTA. I'll be in the digital war room booth for at least 2 of the days, and then walking around the hall. And Browning, I know you're speaking on several sessions, so.
Yes, well, and just look for me with that perpetually confused look. It's my natural state.
That sounds great. we'll look forward to seeing you and everyone else in the eDiscovery Red Zone 2 weeks, ILTA in Las Vegas. Thanks, Brownie.
Thank you.